My name is Azure the Electroshark, and today I'm going to teach you how to create a gesture armature. So whenever you're doing gestures or other dynamic shapes, you want to use a specific kind of line. These lines are either S or C style lines. The first part in any kind of gesture is putting down a line of action. Line of action captures the essence of an image in one stroke. So for example, this pose right here, right? She has her hand shooting up to the ceiling. In order to find this line of action, what I would do is I would lower the opacity on her, follow her leg, put down the head. From there, find the collarbone and put a line that goes between the left shoulder and right shoulder. Straight. This will be one of the only two straight things that we actually use for this exercise. Oh well. Second step, put down a line to represent the hips. Alright, next step. Find the leg that has the weight on it. In this case, it's this leg. We can see by how it is straight up and down. From there, put down a dot to represent the hip bone. Point a C curve from the hip bone down to the back of the knee. Then draw another C curve in the opposite direction for the calf. From here, put down a triangle for the foot. Simpler is better for this stage. Next step, go to the other leg. Same deal. If the leg is pointing forward, that means the C curve will be pointing forward. Go back to the knee, then create another C curve in the opposite direction. Put down the other foot, the simple triangular shape or a plane, whatever you prefer. And then if there's high heels, just add those there. Alright, next step. Put down a dot. And from that dot, put down a C curve to represent the bone of the arm. And then put down a dot, put the C curve in the opposite direction. And you can do a simple sort of fanning shape for the hand. Okay. Now, we cannot see her arm, but that's okay. We can extrapolate where it would be. Put down a line to represent her bicep, then one for the forearm, and put down another shape to represent the fist. Okay, so we're almost done. The last step for a gesture of this kind, this armature style of gesture, is a rib cage. Okay? Now that we have this rib cage, we can essentially call this gesture finished and move on to the next one. Now, the nice thing about this whole process, right, is that you can then use your own abilities, your own imagination to put down whatever pose you choose by using these rules. Okay, so say you put down C shape, right? All right, you know, well, we got to go to a head, which is going to be whatever size, right? Then you put down a line for the shoulders, put down 2 dots. Then for the legs, you put down another 2 dots. Underneath this gesture, you can put down an ellipse to get a feeling for the perspective of what you're doing, all right? And if you have trouble drawing an ellipse, I suggest you draw a crap ton of ellipses. All right, that's the good way to go. All right, next step, you go to the other leg and draw an upper C shape for the thigh and a lower C shape for the calf, and add in your triangle for the foot. And then you can decide what to do with your arms. For me, I'm just going to have her put this arm outwards, and then one of these, just gesturing this wide army thing. this wide fanning hand gesture, whatever that means. All right, and then the other arm, we're going to have it go in, right? We're going to have it go in and touch the hip. So right now, the biggest part about gesture is you want to focus on dynamism, movement, curvature, and then last, curvature, very last is proportion. Proportion will come with time and construction. You practice construction, you're going to get better at proportion. Okay, gesture is about getting feeling. It's about emotion. Emotion. Okay? So, we got this down. We put down the rib cage. Sorry for that little tangent there. But we now have a person. Okay? This is the power of this style. Because from here, if you so desire, you can put... What's the word for this? You can use primitive shapes in 3D to create some sort of form. All right? So turn the head into a cylinder, keeping the same proportions. Or put down a sphere to represent the neck. Put down 2 cylinders to represent the rib cage. And this is like a really good way to give your stuff meat, as it were, or at least a structure to build off of. Put down a sphere for the shoulder dots, right? And for the hip dots. And for the hips, put down a cylinder like this, going between the two, okay? And from here, go to the leg that has the weight on it. Put down a cylinder of some kind. Put down 2 ellipses. It will represent the upper leg. Then put down a sphere for the knee joint. Put down an ellipse and then a smaller tapering ellipse, okay, down to where the ankle area is. About halfway down, the calf pokes out like this. For the other side, there's a curvature, but it curves in at about a 3/4 of the way down rather than 1/2. All right, so considering the perspective, you want to erase out these ellipses, okay? These ellipses should be following whatever the horizon line is. So we're gonna pretend it's here, all right, for this thing. So that means that any ellipses that are above the horizon line will be looking up at like this, and if they're below the horizon line, we will be looking at them from above. A quick demonstration of this is essentially here. Put down a perspective line, put down a line. If there's an ellipse at this part of the horizon, then you'll be looking down at it like this. See? Your eye's looking down at it, right? And then it's above the horizon line. You'll be looking up at it, just like this, all right? And this applies to the forms that we were doing for the gesture. Ain't perfect, but it gets the point across. And for this cylinder, it's kind of a weird combination of both, but it doesn't matter because this cylinder is rotated differently. So basically, it's on a way different perspective grid way over here, which on second consideration means that I got this perspective wrong. Sweep out with the calf shape, and sweep in with this inner bit. So, to build up our feet, what you can do is put down a box, right? A box. And from this box, we can cut out a second box, okay? And then find the midpoint of that box and create a little triangle to represent our foot. And then bam, you got your nice little footsie thing, foot thing. Horrifying piece of anatomy. There you go. Look at that. Good job. You constructed something. Okay, again, on this side, we'll put down a block. And from that block, we cut out a triangle. Very big party. It's a triangle party. Yes, yes, of course. Okay, so this should work in representing a foot. It'll do. From there, you move on to the arms, okay? Boom. Cylinder to represent the bicep. A sphere for the joint of the elbow. A cylinder that tapers inwards. The inner part of the arm is a straight, it's a C curve, small C curve. And the outer part of the arm is always, this specific S shape, okay? You can look at your arm and see it. Basically, the bottom part points out and the inner part points in. For the hands, put down a sphere, then put down some kind of placeholder for the hand, right? That captures the gesture that you're trying to do. For me, it would just be like one of these. It's a mystery. It's a mystery what I was going for. I assume that you will be able to find out what to do with your hand by using your own hand as a reference. Cylinder, right? For the bicep. Sphere for the elbow. Tapering cylinder for this forearm. Then a hand on the hip. Is it perfect? No, but it certainly has more form than a simple armature. And an armature is a wireframe used to support clay when sculptors create things. Alright, now that you've gotten to this point, erase out any errant places that you left behind. Anything that is behind should not be able to be seen from the front. Physics. Yes, of course. Clean it up a little, but essentially, yeah, this is done. Now you do like a crap ton of these and a crap ton of these. You're basically, you got a pretty good feeling for how to add form to gestures and how to do gestures. So we'll go back to the start, all right? Emotion, right? First thing that you should be thinking about, emoting with your gesture. Things should be dynamic, there should be movement. You want to have a good curvature, and proportion is your last thing to worry about. Okay? So, yeah, that should about do it. You can use pretty much any reference that you find on the web and practice with this. Practice finding line of actions, practice putting down these building blocks, as it were. And over time, you'll get better and better at drawing people. And what more do you want from figure drawing? Alright, thanks. This was Azure the Electro Shark. Shark out. And make sure to smash that like button.